Hello, and welcome to Created for More the podcast. It is me, your host, Tomba Moswago, and I will be serving you up with a solo episode today that is all about your beliefs, your mindsets, and just how to thrive with by rewiring your mind. And why do I keep talking about mindset? Because the truth is that mindset is the fundamental piece. It's the fundamental building block upon which everything we'll ever do or achieve is built. So if you get it wrong, if you are not constantly looking and thinking and being intentional about ensuring that your mindset is aligned towards your success, what will happen is like it will be like pouring water into a basket, because you keep building, but you're building on, as they say, sandy foundation. You're building on rocks, you're building on wherever, but whatever the case, you will find that somehow there is just a drag, there's just a frictional force that is pulling you counter current towards the direction that you need to be going to. So mindset is the fundamental piece. I've often said this as well, which is, if you tell me your story, if you tell me where you are now, I will tell you what you believe, because your beliefs are very, very evident from the results that you have. So it is very, very important that on a constant basis that you're thinking about, why are you getting the results that you're getting? Why are you reacting in the patterns and the ways that you're reacting? What is it about the way you think and what you believe about yourself and the world around you that may be influencing the results that you're seeing? So it is the fundamental piece. So today I'm going to be teaching, it's going to be a teaching actually. I'm going to be sharing 5 things I wish I knew sooner about how to rewire one's mind. The 5 things that now, as I've been studying more about it and understanding the connection between the subconscious mind and our reality, I just wish I knew this sooner. So me, I'm bringing it as soon as I know, I am bringing it and I am teaching it on the podcast. Just a pointer also, if there's specific things you would like for me to touch on the podcast, please feel free to send me an email at tomba@tomba.com. I would like to make sure that this podcast continues to deliver value for you, value that is tailor-made to you as well. So make sure you send them through so that I can ensure that what I do here is aligned to your success. So without further ado, let's get into it. So the first one is what I call outcomes and ideals. So it's based upon a question. So the question is, if what you want doesn't happen, does it cause you to suffer? Yes. If what you want doesn't happen, does it cause you to suffer? And I'm not just talking about just slight disappointment. You've planned for something, there's so much emotional investment, even physical exertion, whatever, you've done all of that. And at the end of the day, you don't see the outcome that you desire. Does it cause you to suffer beyond just saying, okay, yes, I'm a little bit disappointed? Because yes, there's nothing wrong with it. We are humans after all. There's nothing wrong with a little bit of disappointment if you don't see the results that you want. But does it cause you beyond just disappointment? Does it cause you to just kind of feel so down and you can't come out of the funk weeks after, and you just can't just seem to wiggle yourself out of it? And if it is the case that this is true for you, I want to put it to you that you might be tied to outcomes and ideals. So this is one of the most remarkable, I'm struggling for words for that, but this is one of the most common, I'll use common actually, one of the most common pitfalls. A lot of times we as people, we are so tied to specific outcomes, we are so tied to specific ideals that we struggle to detach ourselves from those things. So when we don't see things play out the way we want them to play out, We just can't do anything else. So that's the first telltale sign that your mind is in dire need of rewiring. You must pursue success. You must desire progress, but it must not be at the expense of your overall well-being. You shouldn't be tied that if this outcome exactly does not happen, then my life is over. There is nothing else that is good enough for me. Why? Say why. The answer to the question why is that you never know. We as human beings, we are limited in our thoughts. We are limited in what we believe, is the best for us. Why? Because we are not God. So when we tie ourselves to particular outcomes, when we tie ourselves to particular standards, what we do is that we believe in the best for ourselves are often limiting ourselves based on our myopic understanding of life in general. So what that means is like, hey, I want to get this, awesome job in this awesome organization. And, it doesn't happen. And then we get, all like down, depressed, and we just can't carry on. What if there was something else? What if there is something else that is aligned very much for you and is even better for you, which is always often the case. They say that behind every disappointment is a blessing, soon to come blessing. So we must leave room. We must leave room in our desire for things, for something that may even be better. So don't tie yourselves to outcomes or ideals. The second one is being a slave to the ideas of others. And this one is like, so many people, even the best of us, fall for it. Because the way the society and the world has been constructed now, it is like, everyone is expected to perform to certain standards. At this stage of your life, you should be doing this. At this stage of your life, you should be doing that. There is so much expectation of so many, categories of people in the world. Sometimes it even happens that, we even place this, expectations on ourselves without even knowing. Like you look, and for instance, if you are a coach, for instance, if you're a coach, you're saying, at this level of where I am and what I'm doing now, I'm supposed to be performing at this level, I'm supposed to be doing this, I'm supposed to, all of that is expectation that has been created external to ourselves, and these perceptions are based on what we see maybe on social media or what we've seen on the news or wherever you get your information from. You open and you see all these things and you perceive it as the golden standard for you. So when you find that you are a slave to it, and what that means is that you are constantly trying your best to show up as that rather than just being yourself. Another way of looking at it is you prioritizing conformance, which is leading to performance rather than just being. I'll say that again. You prioritizing conformance, which is leading to performance rather than just being. You are unique in the way that you have been created. There's so much that's been put on the inside of you. And unless you just allow yourself be, you will not step into and totally own the full magnificence that you carry on the inside of you. So that's number 2. Number 3 is not taking full advantage of the emotion that is called fear. Hey, Tamara, what do you mean? How can I take advantage of emotion that is called fear? An emotion that causes me to feel petrified. Let me tell you what fear is. Fear is an evidence of a boundary in your mind that you feel that once you cross, it's like a threshold, that once I cross this threshold, I will no longer be safe. And I cannot control what happens beyond that threshold. So what I choose to do instead is to limit myself, i.e., what I choose to do instead is to shrink so that I don't, venture out into the unknown. Again, similar to the other two. Who told you? Who told you? Where did you get your update from? That once you venture beyond this threshold, that what you find might not be something that ends up being beneficial for you. So having that at the back of your mind, that look, fear is something that I must lean into. Why? It is an opportunity for me to show my superhumanness, my extraordinariness. It's an opportunity for me to step into my true, magnificence and every single thing that has been placed on the inside of me. So the next time you feel just this fear, like, oh God, I can't step out, I can't stand out, I can't do this, or I can't do that, I want you to lean into it, see it, turn it on its head, and I want you to lean into it instead. I want you to see it as an opportunity for you to be more rather than doing less. Okay, so interrupting the podcast real quickly to bring you a short message from our sponsors, Linkage Assurance PLC. They're an insurance organization based in Nigeria that offer insurance services across a wide number of sectors. You want to check them out. They offer a great top-notch service. So they're particularly relevant for people who have business interests in Nigeria. So a product I would like to highlight today is from their motor insurance category. So in their motor insurance category, there's a third-party insurance plus product that provides insurance covers for the third-party vehicle if you were ever in an accident, as well as cover for your own vehicle as well at really affordable rates. You want to check them out and tell them that we sent you. Thank you very much. Now back to the podcast. Number 4, we are going into number 4. And I want you to let me know at the end of this podcast which of these points have really hit home for you. Number 4 is not being able to recognize the seeds of self-sabotage. So again, this is another one that is often very constraining for so many people. You have opportunities and you just don't understand why. Somehow you are there's just a lacklusterness about just stepping out. There's just something. Why? Because these seeds of self-sabotage and how they manifest is in 2 key ways. What I call the inner judge and the inner victim. These are often ways in which the seed of self-sabotage manifests in each and all of us. So the inner judge is always the harsh one. The inner judge is always, looking for what you're doing wrong. Everything that you do is that voice of criticism that is in your head. You want to do something and it's saying, are you sure that's how you always do it? You always, step out. It's always your own. It's always your name that will be called every time. This voice is constantly there. The voice of the inner victim as it goes is this voice of victimness that is on the inside of you. Somehow you're just like, you know what, everybody else knows, I don't know, everyone else is better than me, If either of these are the soundtracks that are playing within your mind, then I want you to know that these are seeds that you can uproot. You can uproot for the optimal working of your mind. Remember, if you don't get your mind right, it's the building block upon which every single thing is formed. So it is very, very important that you invest in the health of your mind. Okay? So understanding, looking for opportunities, and making sure that whichever scenario you find yourself, whenever these voices are coming, being completely lethal, completely relentless at uprooting these voices. And there's so much to be said about how to do that. But that's not the subject of this podcast. If you would like to hear that, send me an email and maybe I will look at that on another episode. Okay? So number 5 is this false sense of contentment that will often cause people to do two things: either pretend to be small, or will cause you to bounce from thing to thing without actually finishing anything. This is a very, very, very common one, right? You say, you know what, I am not like other people, so it's all right. I will just leave myself to coast. I am not like this. I am not like that. So that's a wiring in your mind that you need to deal with. Or I will just bounce from thing to thing. It doesn't really matter. I'm just really enjoying and vibing. There's no real need for things to, for me to complete anything. I'll just kind of go. So this whole false sense of contentment that causes you to not, put your full weight behind leaving an impact or doing something that ultimately benefits you and progresses you from one point to the other. So it is very, very, very important that when you notice yourself being content with being small, that you fight against it, that you say to yourself, no, there must be more to life. When you find yourself often just bouncing from thing to thing and you've convinced yourself that, it's not a big deal. There's no need to finish this. I'll just kind of dance around it. And no, it's important that you teach yourself how to be a person who follows through. It's important that you teach yourself how to be a person who delivers on decisions and demands that they have placed on themselves. Okay? So don't limit yourself. Don't be small. Keep pushing yourself and deliver on what you have said you will. If either of these 5 things that I've touched on today, number 1, tying yourself to outcomes and ideals. Number 2, being a slave to the ideas of others. Number 3, not taking fear on and using it as an opportunity or a stepping stone to reveal how extraordinary you are. Number 4, failing to recognize the seeds of self-sabotage that show up as our inner victim and our inner judge. And then number 5, just being in this false sense of contentment that causes you to just shrink and then just not want to do much, say you're small, or make you bounce from thing to thing. If this is you, then I want you to do the work. I want you to know that there is hope on the other side, and it starts with you identifying what is going on underneath the hood. These are things that you have heard today that hopefully you can now start, that hopefully has caused an awakenness or an awareness in you to then start to better yourself. I hope you've enjoyed the podcast. For today, I have thoroughly enjoyed being your host, and I sincerely look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Speak soon.